Hi guys! Today I wanted to talk to you about one of my favorite species of pet reptile, and that is leopard geckos. Leopard geckos are absolutely fantastic. They're a nice small reptile that can be easily handled as long as you're gentle, because they are a little bit fragile due to their small size. And they can drop their tails, but they don't do it super often. And they will regrow their tail. It'll just never look quite the same. You'll notice how it's got all these lumps and bumps on it. If it were to regrow, it would be more of a stubby, smooth sort of tail. Now I'm going to be a little out of focus here because I'm trying to get him in the video more than me, and I don't have fancy setups, so we're going to look at Maurice while I talk. They are relatively easy to care for, only needing a hot spot of about 90 degrees. They do need a good humidity level. Ours is around 50 to 60, but you can also offer humid hides, which is just like a regular hide or even just a Tupperware container with a hole cut in it, and you can put moss or damp paper towel in there, just somewhere for them to go, because they do have a tendency to get stuck shed, especially around the tips of their very tiny little toes. And that stuck shed will constrict the toe and actually cause the tip to fall off. We have not experienced this with any of our leopard geckos, thankfully. But I do see it a lot in like rescued leopard geckos and things like that. Just because people have a tendency not to, they just don't know that they need to keep them a little bit more humid or offer them that area when they're shedding. You'll also see a lot of either overfed or underfed leopard geckos. There's a lot of, they're a reptile, right? So their metabolism isn't as fast as ours or a cat or a dog's, so they don't need to eat quite as often. I'm not going to recommend a feeding schedule in this video. I will tell you what we feed, which is things like dubia roaches, mealworms. On the rare occasion, they'll get waxworms, small hornworms on even rarer occasions, as long as you make sure you're giving them plenty of calcium on their meals, on their bugs, and make sure you get calcium with and without D3, because you don't want to overdose them on that D3, but you want to make sure that they're getting plenty of calcium. And in a moment, I'll show you his enclosure. This is where Maurice lives. This is a 40-gallon front opening Zoom-Ed enclosure, and we've got just a little UV light on it, not anything super strong. I believe it's a 5% Arcadia, and we've also got a ceramic heater up top. That's what's keeping it warm. We do use ambient in here, so it's already around 80 degrees, and we just use that to bump up this side to 90. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different places that he can hide. He likes to hide down in here. He does use this, but it just kind of falls, and then he'll climb up and fall. But it's adorable. Of course, shout out Stargate, had to have one of those in there. A slate tile just to help keep his nails filed. And the substrate is a home mixture of topsoil, play sand, and cocoa fiber. But there are plenty of readily available pre-made substrates that you can use. And then of course, water bowl, very important. Food dish, very important. And the food dish has calcium in it at all times. Calcium without D3, so that if he feels the need to lap them up, he can. Leopard geckos also come in a wide array of colors. This, for example, is Julie. I couldn't tell you her exact morph. I know I have it written down somewhere, but she does have some form of albino, and her vision isn't the greatest. But she's also a good example of differences in personalities. See if I can bring her in focus here. Because Maurice will readily let me pick him up just fine. Julie is just fine being handled, but she does think my fingers are worms when it comes time to actually pick her up from in the enclosure. I love that you can see her little ear back there. And she is just a much lighter, more orange. She doesn't have any blacks on her. And she is just a sweet little girl. They are fantastic pets, and I highly recommend them. I recommend doing more research than just this video, of course, because this is just kind of an overlay of them. But I highly recommend getting them and looking at local rescues. For example, here in Michigan, we have N&N, Rescue of Grand Rapids, Reptile and Exotic Rescue of Grand Rapids. They rescue lots of animals, and they get lots and lots of leopard geckos that come through their doors. So if you are thinking of getting a leopard gecko, I highly recommend adopting from a reputable rescue, such as N&N. And yeah, I think that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and look forward to higher quality content in the future, because that's what we're working towards.